Hey, can you guys hear me? Very impromptu stream. So, yes, okay, great. Okay, audio's working then. We'll do like 3 minutes of just random questions, and then I'll go into like a full detailed breakdown. That was a crazy card. Unfortunate end to the co-main, but the draw straight bet was crazy. Yeah, I'm glad we hit that. Two of your favorites lost. Which were they? Did Moreno go out hitting his head on the canvas? Yeah, so it looked like what happened that when Tyra punched him, it kind of snapped his head down, and between the punch and the impact, whatever it was, Moreno got like flash KO'd, and then the ref kind of panicked from there and stopped it a little early, even though Moreno did come back. So I don't think it's the worst stoppage of all time, but yeah, I would have liked to see him have an extra few seconds. You won me money with your over under significant strikes. I'm glad to hear it. I love Van, but the celebrating was so distasteful. I get it though, life changing money. I don't think it's about the money, right? I think that something we all have to remember is that he essentially just accomplished his dream. So even if it was in a manner that is not ideal, it's still going to be a massive moment for him no matter what. So I don't think we can really expect him to be like completely contained and act like, I mean, that he shouldn't have won or whatever we want to refer to that as. Thoughts on Jan's performance? It was. We'll get to that, right? I have weird thoughts about the main event. I was a 63% ROI for the year looking. Should it be higher considering how well we've been doing in the Discord? No, if you're hitting 63% ROI with our stuff in the Discord, you're doing perfectly great. Um, Again, 97% of sports bettors are losing money anyway. Anything over 20% is absolutely elite. So you're definitely using the tools and the stuff right. Don't worry. 63% is great. Sadly, seems like Vittoria's over the hill crazy. His chin still hasn't been cracked. Yeah, that was weird. I was surprised were you by Talbot performance? I mean, not at all. It's basically what I said was going to happen. Jan beats Umar, right? Yeah, he should. Because Umar's going to gas. So I don't really see a way for Umar to win that unless he could somehow win the fight early. Why did Marab not kick as much? I don't fully know, but I'll get to that when we talk about that fight. I love this post-reaction format. I normally look at Instagram for responses, but this is a really cool addition. Thanks. Yeah, I'll try to do it more often. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to pull off right after cards, especially if it gets very late, but this one ended a little bit early because of the co-main event shenanigans, so. Guys, if you're not on the Discord, it's the only legal money printer in existence. Appreciate the plug. Yes, if you guys are not in the betting Discord, we did ridiculously well today, including like a plus 4,000 live bet on Jan versus Guskov to end in a draw. Umar got dropped by Mario Bautista. I mean, Bautista's a decent fighter, to be fair. Y'all can help me get in the Discord. I'll drop the link here if for those of you who are not familiar with how to do that. And then, like, in a minute or two, I'll get right into the breakdown because I think most of you guys are going to come very quickly here. Can I pin a message? Yes, I can. That's how you get access to the Discord if you're interested. But now we'll get into the breakdowns. Where's my stuff? Okay. Here we go. Okay. So I think I'll just open and we'll talk about the full fight. This is basically what I expected. Naimov is not a very good fighter. He's defensively atrocious, and like all of his offense is very predictable and very kick heavy. Myron Santos looked pretty good. I will say that, first of all, the weight miss is bad. I think Myron Santos is going to have to move up to 155 because I think this is the second time he's missed weight fairly recently. And his fight IQ definitely needs work. He could have ended the fight, I believe, in round 2. It was just not great understanding of when he should be doing what. He should have disengaged the clinch and gone back to work when Naimov was hurt. Even in round 1, I believe, he rocked him pretty early. And had he stayed out of the clinch instead of just like posturing for better position in the clinch, he may have been able to finish the fight pretty much immediately. So Myron Santos is fairly technically sound. I mean, I have no real complaints about his skills in this performance, but between the weight miss and the fight IQ, he definitely does have some work to do. First fight was incredible. I mean, I won't lie, it was great to see Naimov get knocked out after how much cheating he's done. I'm not even going to open up this fight. Malik versus Trocoli. I mean, we all knew what was going to happen. He was minus whatever, 1500 for a reason. Yeah, I mean, I guess it was good to see that Malik has submissions in his arsenal, but I won't lie, it did look like Trocoli tapped before the choke even really got tight. So I don't know how how much that says about his actual submission ability, even though at least he technically does have it and is willing to use it. This fight, on the other hand, as I said in my Instagram story, unironically, probably the best, how long was it? Yeah, minute and a half fight that we will ever see. Like, I don't see any way that this is ever going to get beaten. Now, Iwo, in all fairness, did fight more technically than probably it's going to look for people who just watched this live and didn't watch it back at all. Iwo was definitely looking for his opportunities. He wasn't just brawling. That being said, I think he's one of those guys where if you hit him, he really wants to get it back, so he's not just going to clinch and then pick his shots. He's just going to really start trying to put pressure on you and throw. Ibo is the same guy. Aslan is basically just going to wing hooks and overhands and then a few calf kicks on the outside. Iwo has potential because even though if I'm saying like Iwo wasn't like straight up brawling, if we're going to want to call it educated brawling, whatever it is, not many people can out-brawl Aslan. Like, I know Kutalaba technically had some success there and then ended up finishing it with a submission, but usually if you just brawl with Aslan, good things are not going to happen to you. Iwo made it look, I'm not going to say easy, but definitely doable in a situation that he probably will be able to avoid in the future because he's going to have more time to set things up, because most people aren't just going to start spamming hooks at you like Iwo is. So we still don't know how Iwo's going to perform in like a technical fight on the outside, but he's definitely an exciting prospect, and they probably feed Aslan to like one more prospect who should knock him out. Aslan will always have a chance, but they're going to try to use his name, build one more guy, and then cut him most likely. Turner versus Barboza was one of those fights where it's like, why are we why are we doing this? Everyone knew the outcome. I mean, from a betting perspective, it was great, right? Like, everyone could just throw as much money as possible on Jalen Turner, and it was just a free money printer. But yeah, I mean, Barboza actually did look, to be fair, very dangerous in the first like 30 seconds. About his offense is still relatively clean. His fast twitch is still spectacular. Him being a little bit small for 155, you can see how that worked out in the past, because the speed at which he kicks and throws punches, even though his technical boxing isn't great, just like his ability to touch you before you react is definitely incredible. A lot of people are asking whether this means Jalen Turner is back or not. It's really hard to say, because Barboza is definitely like the definition of washed at this point. But I mean, he looked willing to take shots. He got in there. He wanted to finish early. So credit to him. He definitely wanted a highlight to get back into his UFC career, or whatever you want to call it. So to really see where he's at, we need to see him fight one more time. I do think they make him fight down one more time so we can see where he's at. I don't think they're going to let him fight up, even though, based on the announcements, it seems like they're letting everyone fight up. I think it was Rufi versus Fiziev, right? I have no idea why that fight was scheduled. I'm not saying that Rufi has no chance. Rufi could definitely beat Fiziev. I would not be surprised at all. But giving Rufi Fiziev off of a loss, and then giving him a higher ranked opponent, is one of the crazier moves I've seen. But that is what it is, I guess. Modern UFC for you. All right, moving on to Bruno versus Vittori. This is another one of these fights where it's hard to take anything good out of it for either of them, because Vittori in round one, okay, he was landing the volume, of course, like he always is going to, and then he was just getting hit with the larger shots, which was no surprise. Everyone knows in round one, Bruno is going to be able to contend with pretty much everyone just because of how explosive he is. Bruno, of course, missed weight for this fight, but maybe that contributed with him not gassing out a little bit, but it seemed like he had more fat on him than anything else, which really should be taken off. I have no idea what he's doing there. Vittori just didn't want to win this fight. It felt like this fight was Vittori's to win, and he just decided to not put the volume out. I don't know if like he was scared to take damage. Obviously, Bruno hits hard, or what the deal is. But Vittori, not that he was ever spectacular, but he does not seem like the same guy anymore, and he probably gets cut after that performance. On the Bruno side, I don't think this was the best look either, not gonna lie, because he's so easy to counter when he explodes in. Vittori was doing it a few times, he just never really committed to it. Especially if you take Bruno into rounds 2 and 3, he gets really easy to counter. And by the end of the fight, he was just trying to survive from death gassing. So I think Bruno probably loses his next fight. Vittori is probably in regional scene the next fight, to be honest. Rufi's two-bladed for Fiziev chops. I think Rufi's a better technical striker, so it's a bad matchup for him. I'll have to do tape on that. I haven't really looked much, honestly. What's your overall rating of the card? That's a tough one. After we do the analysis and I think about it a little more, I'll give a full rating. Thoughts on Tyra's finish? We'll get to that soon. Okay, so Firas Ziam versus Nazim Sadikov. This fight, I don't understand how the betting odds were even close. Like, I understand fans picking Nazim, right? He's entertaining. But I don't understand how any large sports bettors were putting money on Nazim when he has lost pretty much every single completed round in the UFC. Like, if we actually look at his record here, like, he lost, actually, I don't even know what happened in this fight, to be honest, the Contender Series fight. But against Elder, he was down 2 rounds, he gets a doctor stoppage, like, off of a cut that really should not have been a doctor stoppage, in my opinion. McKinney, he loses the only completed round, and then McKinney does his thing and gets finished right after. Borshev, he won 1 round, he got the 10-8 in round 2, but he lost rounds 1 and 3 to Borshev, who we know is not particularly good. And then Bonfim, yeah, he technically finished the fight before the round finished, but he was getting torn up before he found that one shot. And Mota, he lost round 1, and Mota is very entertaining, but not the level of Ziam by any means. But yeah, so with Ziam has just evolved so much. His defense looks spectacular. His wrestling has evolved significantly. He's dangerous from every position now. I don't know if they're going to push him into the rankings because of the fact that he doesn't really speak English, and a lot of people do not like his style, and I get why. He's not the most like blatantly entertaining. But skill for skill, he's just going to keep knocking off guys until they push him into the rankings. I do think there are some guys in the rankings who will beat him, but probably like, let's see. I would probably pick him against Bahamondes. I'd probably pick him against Rufi. I'd pick him against Dawson. I'd pick him against Dariush. I'd pick him against Chandler. I'd pick him against Moicano. So we're getting to top 10, where I start thinking he loses some of these fights. Also, how is Hooker still ranked 6 after that fight? Okay, whatever. But yeah, so it's a beautiful performance from Nazim. From Firas Ziam. His wrestling, again, was great, especially in round 1. Then round 2 just found the kill shot when he needed to. So literally nothing I can really criticize from Ziam there. And Sadikov has to really go back to the drawing board and start changing his style to be able to win minutes rather than just moments, I should say. Because if you're relying on that one big shot and you're always falling behind, when you're fighting these better guys, you're not going to find that big shot. It's just, they're too good for that. So Nazim's really going to have to change a lot. Macy Barber versus Corinne Silva. We saw the first massive blunder of Mark Smith for the night, where he just decided we're going to let someone get away with repetitive upkick fouls and like literally rocking Barber badly, and then not even take a point or give her the position back, by the way. But Barber looked okay, not the highest fight IQ. As I was saying in the breakdown Thursday, she should shoot first all the time. She started doing it in rounds 2 or 3, so at least she adapted. In round 1, I thought she should have just shot immediately instead of waiting for Silva to shoot, get her down, and then have to reverse from there. But yeah, I mean, her grappling still leaves a lot to be desired. I'm pretty sure Blanchfield would have subbed her because Blanchfield's a lot just better and more intelligent than Karine Silva pretty much everywhere. But Barber is nice in that she is very entertaining for that division, and it's a style you don't get much there, where she's kind of just an educated brawler who's looking to just smash her face in with elbows. So good performance from her. Karine Silva is just never going to be that top level fighter, it seems like. She really did not live up to the hype of what she was supposed to be at the time. Van is a fake champ. I don't believe Van is a fake champ, but we'll get to that. Hooker is beyond washed. Bro needs to fight some unranked cans for fun and retire. Yeah, pretty much. Hooker isn't washed. Don't know where this narrative's come from. Well, washed might be the wrong word, but he was never like amazingly good to begin with. All right. What was next? Oh, McKinney versus Duncan. Another one of those fights where it's like, okay, anyone who was predicting had to kind of flip a coin in a sense, because either McKinney was going to finish him with the initial burst or he wasn't. He was going to get finished right afterwards. He almost did finish Duncan, to be fair, but didn't quite get him out of there. And as he started to slow down just a little bit, Duncan was able to start landing, of course, find that elbow. If McKinney changed gyms, he would probably do very well, in all honesty, because he just needs to rein in the chaos a little bit. He is very talented. Like, his raw talent probably exceeds arguably anyone in that division in a weird way. So he definitely needs to change something up, because if at his current point he couldn't beat Duncan, like, Duncan is the easiest matchup of anyone like close to the rankings that he could have gotten. So he's really going to have to change a lot or just retire from here. I don't know what the UFC wants to do with him. I don't know if they're going to feed him another can, let him like get a highlight, get back on course, or what the deal is. But yeah, I mean, whatever he's doing is not working right now. Barboza should retire. Yeah, I agree. Quick turnarounds against BSD will end him. Not even trying to glaze BSD, it's just the truth. Yeah, I don't know why you would just get mauled and then decide immediately to fight another wrestler, but okay. Grant Dawson might have negative striking. Yeah, we're about to go to that. Watching us live was too infuriating when you had a bet on it. Yeah, fair. All right. Manuel Torres versus Grant Dawson. This is one of my better calls of the night. Manuel Torres round 1 TKO. I thought it was kind of obvious because Torres has super underrated like grappling and wrestling, I guess you could say as well. Like, just his ground game in general is super underrated. He ragdolled and submitted Chris Duncan, which isn't easy. Knocking out Chris Duncan's doable. Ragdolling him and submitting him, not the easiest to say the least. Torres is just a guy you cannot make mistakes against, because one touch will knock you out cold, especially Dawson, who has zero durability whatsoever. A lot of people were saying, like, oh, that was a terrible game plan from Dawson, but I don't know what Dawson could have done. Like, other maybe than just, like, run around on the outside and continue to kick, because he wasn't going to be able to take down Torres because he couldn't set up an entry correctly. Torres is just too strong to be able to just brute force shoot on him like Dawson usually does. And on the feet, if he was going to risk upsetting things by entering the pocket, every time he entered the pocket, he was going to risk getting knocked out. And of course that happens. The first like extended sequence there was with punching, Torres was able to snipe him with the uppercut and put him out pretty much instantly. So good showing for Torres. The biggest issue for Torres is that his striking defense is still absolutely abysmal. Like, when he fought Bahamondes, he hurt him pretty much immediately, but then he tried to follow up and he was just overextending so much on every shot that Bahamondes just had the easiest time sniping him and putting him away. And Bahamondes is good on the feet, but he shouldn't be making it look that easy on the feet. So Torres really does need to refine his striking and his footwork. I think footwork is part of the problem, because when you see when he throws, he's always out of position right afterwards, and it takes him like a few seconds to reset. That actually may have been the best bet for Grant Dawson, is try to go right after Torres throws and his like footwork is a little bit off, but it's very risky and it would have been a very tough game plan to pull off anyways. So good for Torres, but he's still going to struggle if he tries to fight into the rankings. Dawson, I don't know what he does, because he's a great grappler, but just he's slow. His chin is never going to be there. And yeah, and if he can't get the takedown, he's just doomed immediately. Like, he's still going to beat most guys because his grappling is so good, but he has to figure out some way of entering in a way that isn't risky for him despite his deficiencies, which I don't know what it can be in all honesty. I'll take the plus 410 on Torres first round knockout. Christmas came early with that Torres round 1 only line. Yeah, that was incredible. Go do yourselves a favor and join the Discord. Yeah, I appreciate the plug. So those of you who are just seeing that and have no idea what that means, again, betting Discord, we did amazingly today, which is why people keep mentioning it. I pinned the link. If you want to join, just click there and it'll walk you through the process. Dawson looked bad with his striking. I mean, he's just not a talented striker because he's so slow. And it's like his kicks are okay, to be fair, right? His kicking game is fine. But then once he gets into the pocket, that like complete lack of speed just completely dooms him. What adjustments did Jan make to dominate? We'll get to that. Torres versus Quinlan Selkeld. I'll go Torres, but tentatively. What was your biggest surprise of the card? The main event, but I think it was for most people. Do you think Torres could make it far in the rankings? Right now, no, but if he makes some adjustments, yes. Torres' ceiling, I think he could be a glass cannon, but I don't know. I mean, Torres has a high ceiling. He just has to refine a lot. Dawson versus Torres was Brady versus Morales all over again. Yeah, pretty much. DC was in disbelief when he saw how bad Dawson's striking was. Yeah, that was funny. That might be card of the year. If the co-main event wasn't so anticlimactic, I think it would have been card of the year. I think with the co-main being what it was, it probably won't quite make it because we did have other good cards this year, but it was close. All right, on to Jan versus Guskov. So there's the whole controversy, of course. Should round 2 have been a 10-8? Should it not have been a 10-8? Did Jan get robbed again? Did he not? Etc. I will say this. I'm actually fine with round 2 being a 10-8 because I think judges can be very stingy with 10-8s. Guskov got a knockdown. He landed a lot of elbows. He had the duration, he had the damage with the knockdown and the continued elbows. Even if they didn't land the cleanest, right? He did cut up Jan a lot, and he had 4 minutes of control on the ground. And yeah, I don't necessarily value control by itself, but when you pair it with the damage, and it basically makes it so the person on the back, the back doesn't do any effective work over the round, I do have to lean towards that being a 10-8. In rounds 1 and 3, I mean, Jan looked pretty good. However, I will say for Jan here, it does feel like his boxing is degraded a lot, because in the past, his head movement was very good. If you look at how he was entering and exiting against Ankalaev, he was always using angles, he was always making sure that his head wasn't on the center line and so on. Against Guskov, he was just backing up and leaning back in a straight line. And I was getting worried about that in round 1, and then in round 2, he just immediately gets punished for it. Guskov does not have good cardio, though, and does not have a good ground game, but that didn't really get punished here. So, of course, that led to him getting dropped in round 3. It was another one of these fights where it's like, I would, in all honesty, like Jan to retire sooner rather than later, because I like him, and I don't want to see him get knocked out, and I feel like if he goes for too much longer, that is going to happen, unfortunately. Guskov, I don't think has the highest ceiling, because his striking is just not the cleanest. Like, basically what I was talking about with his accuracy being horrific on the stream, right? There's just a lot of instances where he should have been able to perform better with how slow Jan is at his older age, and the fact that he was very rocked. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what they do from here with both of them. I could see them giving Jan like some other interesting matchup at the top, maybe like a Roundtree or something like that. But honestly, with what we saw from Jan here, I would be worried for him against someone like Roundtree, because just leaning straight back is not something good to do against Roundtree. With Guskov, maybe you do like a Menefield fight if you're keeping Menefield in the UFC. Maybe you do like Omar Sy. There are some like interesting matchups, but there's nothing, yeah, I don't really think that he's going to win too many of them. Jan allergic to not having the closest fights of all time. Valid, yeah. I low-key think round 3 could have been 10-8. Guskov didn't really do much but circle and get hit, plus he got saved by the bell. I think you mean 10-8 for Jan in round 3? Okay, so he landed enough strikes early in the rounds that I did not give round 3 a 10-8 to Jan. I understand the logic, but I don't think it was close enough. Jan is the king of close decisions. Yeah, agreed. Jan versus Mirzakhanov, I don't want to see that. Like, Jan is not in the state anymore, in my opinion, to fight Mirzakhanov. Hot take, I don't think the Brendan Moreno stoppage was that bad. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the hottest take. We'll get to that in a second, though. Hara might be the new flyweight champ. Very possible, yeah. Forget the comma after 10-8, my bad. No worries, yeah. What's next for Marab? Do you think the instant rematch is the move here? I think that's what's going to happen. We'll get to that when we talk about the main events, though. I've made more money from your service than my job averaging over the past 2 months in this week. Glad to hear it. Hey, Oracle, I had to cancel the betting service because I'm cutting down my betting spending. However, let's say that I absolutely recommend the service and I really enjoyed it. Appreciate it. And yeah, if you're no longer betting, that definitely makes sense. Can Murzakanov beat Yuri? Yeah, if he does it early, because Yuri gets hit so clean early sometimes that it's a scary matchup for Yuri and not one that I really want him to take, but thoughts on Van and Tyra? We'll get to that in a second, right? We have one more before we get to the interesting ones. Hayden Talbot versus Henry Cejudo. So, I will compliment Talbot before I start ripping into him. His offensive wrestling looked significantly improved, right? Obviously, he took down Cejudo twice in round 1, and then I think one more time in the rest of the fight, which was pretty impressive. On the feet, his striking is very fluid. His 1-2 is very difficult for people to stop because he doesn't really throw with the snappiness most people do. He kind of just flows into the 1-2, which makes it very hard to read and evade. So that's why he was catching like Cejudo with it right out the bat, because Cejudo really had to make adjustments to try to see it coming and not get hit constantly. Cejudo's wrestling, though, continues to just embarrass like wrestling in MMA, because I think the reality is that like pure wrestling is not actually that useful when you transfer it into MMA. Like Bo Nickel does not look spectacular with his wrestling in MMA. Henry Cejudo does not look spectacular with his wrestling in MMA. I'm sure you can name a lot more people who have been like high level in technical wrestling, but have not looked great in MMA with their wrestling. And I think it's just a different dynamic when you can move backwards. Because the thing in wrestling is that you're not allowed to move backwards much. So it allows for different types of takedowns that don't really work in MMA because people can just back up to the fence. So I think in general, the whole like wrestling as a sole base for MMA is kind of dying. And it has to be like say like combat sambo wrestling, where you're used to doing it with a cage, or like BJJ style wrestling, where it's like, okay, they add in wrestling, but they're understanding that you have to control the ground once you get it there and work to finish the fight and so on. So, yeah, I mean, Cejudo definitely did tough it out in his last performance. A lot of respect to him for that. But now, in terms of what I really disliked about Talbot here, and why I don't think that he's going to go as far as people think he is, his striking defense is atrocious. And I keep thinking, oh, maybe he'll fix the next fight. Maybe he'll fix the next fight. He did not fix it here. And Cejudo is, to be fair, a better boxer than I think a lot of people give him credit for, but he's not the guy you want to have landed that many strikes on you. I think it was like even at the end of round 2, after Talbot almost finished him for like 2 minutes straight, and then Cejudo landed like 7 strikes in a row on him or something. Like, Talbot has a great chin, I get it, but other people hit harder than Cejudo, and they will put you away if you do that. So I just really do not think that Talbot can go much further at where he's currently at. If he refines his striking defense, yeah, maybe things improve for him. But as is, he's going to get fraud checked super badly again if he does not make like massive adjustments. Talbot is kind of green, but his ceiling is, I don't know what the last word was supposed to be. Yeah, I could say that he has a high ceiling, but he definitely has to change a lot. Nice to see Cejudo go out in a shield. Well, he didn't have to. Luckily, he made it to the end. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Van Army, where you at? It's DC. Good to see you here. Henry has a demon chin. Yeah, he could definitely take punishment, to say the least. Doing great with your betting Discord, Oracle. Glad to hear it. Thank you. Mark Madsen, yeah, good example, right? Olympic wrestler. I think he also got gold medal and just did terribly in UFC. I was surprised Henry was hurt so bad by the body shots. I thought he eliminated the hole after the first DJ fight. I think he improved the hole, but like someone like Talbot's going to hit a lot harder than someone like DJ. So it's really hard to tell with a lot of the people that he was fighting. How would you rate to praise MMA wrestling? I kind of think it's overrated. I think it's better than pure wrestling, to say the least. And to be fair, he took down Holloway very easily. So even though we don't see him use it much, I would definitely say that it is effective. Let's put it that way, even if it's not very tested. Why would Payton stop throwing the body shots? Yeah, there was definitely some questionable fight IQ with Talbot in terms of like when he was clinching and when he was throwing what type of shot. if he just didn't clinch in rounds 2 and 3 and just kept spamming the body shots, I do think he would have found the finish. Montel Jackson with Style and Talbot, probably, yeah. How did you do overall? Just joined. It depended on the person. I think I was personally up like 25 to 30 units, and some people were up over 100 units. We all did pretty well today. Talbot versus Vinicius Oliveira. The battle of bad striking defense, valid. Yeah, I do think Talbot would win that one. Thoughts on Dan versus BSD? I'll get to that after we finish the recap here. I'll answer some questions for like 20 minutes maybe. All right, we'll get to the other controversial one. So, full disclosure, I did not get to see the first part of what happened in round 1. The video completely cut out, and by the time I came back, we were just sitting in the triangle for the rest of the round. So I genuinely don't know. Like I heard that Tyra got to mount in round 1, and then that happened, but I don't know. So yeah, sorry if I do not have context over half of round 1 and the significance there. But all I could say is Tyra did a good job at surviving the triangle position. That was yeah, I mean, he's very good at not panicking. It happened before when he was in a deep guillotine against, I think, Jesus Aguilar. He just stays very calm, makes the very small adjustments to start escaping, and you either burn out your arms or legs trying to finish it, or you just let go and let him get to dominant position. So, good on him. I don't know if he won round 1 on the scorecards or not. You could probably justify it either way, especially looking at the striking numbers here, because Tyra did all the striking. Moreno had a submission attempt for a lot of the round. I would probably favor Moreno in that because I value a submission attempt a bit higher, especially if it was at all close, but you could definitely see it either way. Round 2, Tyra looked spectacular, and it was pretty much just what I expected. He was going to try to get to the body lock, get the takedown from there, advance position slowly, and then eventually try to finish the fight. Now, in all honesty, I expected Moreno to survive to a decision. I didn't think Tyra would get that dominant position. I thought it'd be like, okay, we're going to half guard camp for 2 rounds. Tyra has improved a lot from the Royval fight. If you look at how he strikes on the feet now, his movement is completely different. When he was fighting Royval, he was completely static on the feet. Now he's like actually comfortable and bouncing around a bit, and he throws with like much more intent and such. So Tyra, I think we do not know how good he is yet because he did not have to show it. In the finishing sequence regarding the controversy. So what I saw is the following. I think that Tyra hit him with a good punch at the start of the sequence, and Moreno got like flash KO'd, kind of like what happened in Yuri versus Reyes. Now, I think that kind of panicked the ref, so when Tyra started just throwing more volume, he was a lot quicker to stop it. I do think it was early because it did not seem like Moreno was out. Do I think he would have survived that position? No. I do think the TKO would have happened just 10 seconds later. But yes, I would have liked Moreno to have the chance to be able to attempt to survive that position. Tyra ground pound looks so nice, bro. Yeah, he has a lot more power in it now. Tyra was faking takedowns into strikes so well. Yeah, that was very well done as well. Royval comeback will be legendary, valid. If they do Tyra versus Van, who you got? I might have to lean Tyra, honestly, but it's very hard to say because we don't know how good either of them is right now. Is it just me, or did Moreno get rocked bad after the takedown slam? Like actually cold out? I assume you mean out cold for a bit. I think it was with the first punch, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Aguilar's guillotine was much tighter than Brandon's. That's fair, yeah. Do you have to pay to get into the Discord? Yeah, it's $25 per month. Tyra slammed him, and then they scrambled until Moreno got to the triangle. Okay, got you. 2 of the 3 judges gave Tyra round 1. That's fair. I mean, it's not a crazy card by any means. Is anyone here not in the Discord? If so, why are you dumb? I appreciate it. Pantoja could be Tyra could be Pantoja's nightmare matchup. Yeah, that's what I've been saying for a long time. I think Tyra would absolutely destroy Pantoja. Megan said Pantoja's injury was only a shoulder dislocation. Well, okay, then they can run the rematch in a few months, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, it's not as big a problem. If it was a broken arm, this would be worse because he would be out for a while. But yeah, actually, let me get to that in a second after a few more questions here. Moreno's boxing looked very crisp in round 2. I like the body shots. To be fair, we didn't see much of it. But yeah, I mean, Moreno is a great boxer when he uses it. Tyra versus Merab. hypothetical matchup? Hard to say, but we'll get into Merab a little more soon. Okay, so now I'm going to give much more analysis than you think I'm going to for a 26-second fight that ended in an injury. So, I've said for a while I think this fight is a 50-50. I officially went with the Pantoja pick. My only bet on this fight was Van TKO, which actually did end up kind of working well because of what happens. But either way. So, when they came out, Pantoja landed a calf kick very quickly, a hard calf kick. Now, that was a very bad sign for Van, in my opinion, because of the fact I specifically said in my game plan for Van that he needs to defend the calf kicks for a reason, right? He stands in a very, standardized boxing stance. And the weakness of that stance is you're very open to the calf kicks. We've seen him get hit by them before. And if you start eating too many of the calf kicks, especially against Pantoja, then the takedowns will start coming more easily and it will be a problem. Then, what we next saw in the sequence is that Pantoja blitzed forwards to try to push Van back, and Van actually did a really good job at circling out. Now, that was something I said that Van definitely has to do, and it would definitely give him a massive advantage. So we were kind of tied 1-1 in the good points of who was going to win this fight before the finishing sequence happened. So I will say I have no idea still who would have won. Based on the little bit we've seen in the rematch, well, okay, let me get to this. So when Van dumped him, the reason why I defend Van in that sequence, I'm saying that even though, yeah, obviously it was an unlikely outcome, we shouldn't just say that Van should get no credit for this win, is because the way he forced Pantoja to go down on his hand, or his arm, I should say, is what damaged the arm. Van didn't just let him land, with his weight on his legs. He forced his legs up into a position that all the weight was going to go down on his head, or of course his arms if he broke the fall. Came on his arms, and then that caused the break. Was the intention to break his arm? Yeah, no, of course not. Or, sorry, dislocation away from what you guys are saying. Yeah, obviously that was not the intention, but Van was doing a good job at understanding that if he pushed Pantoja in that manner, he would be able to establish a better position when Pantoja did recover, because Pantoja would have to adjust to where his weight was, then try to get up or scramble and such. So it was not just a purely lucky thing, right? It was semi-calculated from Van. Not that he was intending to create the dislocation, but he was intending to create a better position in an intelligent manner. Now, for the rematch, I'm going to say this, right? I think you have to favor Van, because older fighters who suffer an injury, even if it's just a dislocation, after losing a belt, are never the same. It just doesn't work for them. So I think that in the rematch, we're going to see Van probably put up a pretty good performance, especially if they fix the whole calf kick issue, which should be obvious now that he just got blasted by it. But yeah, obviously we have no idea what would have happened in this fight. But in the rematch, I will probably flip my pick to Van. I think Pantoja will be completely different after his injury. Yeah, I agree. Oracle Tyra's striking looks sharp. Unfortunately, I think he subs Van. Very possible. But then Van also avoided a calf kick right after. He did, but it was not thrown nearly as cleanly and with the correct distance management. So yes, he did defend one, but it wasn't it was one that he definitely should have defended, let's put it that way, right? And if Pantoja kept throwing them, I'm not sure he would have kept defending. I highly doubt that was just a dislocation. We'll have to see what the report is. It was way more than dislocation? Okay. Yeah, I mean, we'll look at the report when all of that comes out. It looked worse than Fizie's injury, fair. Who would win, Tyra or Mokaev? Tyra would absolutely humiliate Mokaev. Tyra versus Van is probably next. I don't think so, actually. I think what's going to happen is they'll do an interim title with Tyra and the winner of Kopp versus Royval. And then they'll probably do the rematch between Van and Pantoja and then do the unification afterwards. Any chance Kopp gets a title shot over Tyra if he wins next weekend? No. Not with not with Tyra being the first person to officially finish Rhino. Tyra Molmokaev? Yeah, exactly. JDM would never what? Oh, the whole broken arm thing, fair. Tyra versus Van should be put in UFC 326 or even 325. Neither guy took any damage. I just don't think that's going to be the direction they go, but maybe. Van or Mighty Mouse in his prime? I'd want to see a little bit more from Van, but I might be leaning Van, honestly. Alright, now to the main event. Now, I will say this about the main event. It really confused me. Not the result. Once the fight started and we got through round one, the result did not surprise me at all. What surprised me about this fight is that it really felt like Rob fought extremely arrogant. What I mean by that is in the first fight, he had a very careful game plan to not give Jan any opportunities to work within his own game. So what Rob basically did was, Jan is best at fighting in the center, so we're just not going to fight in the center at all. He either forced Jan to be approaching and just stayed out of boxing range, so he would just kick on the outside or throw jabs and move, or he would push Jan back and land punches there, because Jan never really retaliates when he's on the back foot. We even saw that today. So with the takedowns, he would, instead of grinding for the takedown like he did today, he would just shoot takedowns to push Jan back and then use that to pressure if he needed to. So if the fight was kind of stuck in the center, he didn't want to trade with him, so he would shoot to then push him back. He also focused a lot on the calf kicks, and between the calf kicks and the head kicks, it kept Jan thinking a lot to the point that he wasn't able to adjust quickly. The calf kicks slowly eroded Jan's ability to defend the takedown, and the head kicks made it so that Merab could shoot under more easily to try to attempt the takedown. None of that setup existed today. Merab decided he was going to trade punches with him in the center. And I genuinely don't know why you would do that. So a lot of people are like saying Jan put on a masterclass and so on. And to be fair, all credit for Jan, right? He capitalized on the situation. He fought a good fight. He focused on the body strikes, made the adjustments there. Good for him. It's going to be interesting to see the trilogy or whatever happens next. I do think, though, that Merab fought pretty much the worst fight he could have. Because I don't know why you would ever fight like how he did. It's just like I think that winning may have gone to his head, and he just decided like, oh, I can just strike with anyone at this point. I will say this, Rob ruined my lace fair. How does Cobb versus Tyra go? I think Tyra would get him down, sub him. How does Umar versus Piotr Jan realistically go? So Piotr Jan would very likely beat Umar, because the reality is that Umar has a good 2 rounds in him. In round 3, he really starts slowing down unless you can't push a pace at all. Jan is probably going to be able to defend his takedowns, and even if he can't, I can't see Umar finishing him early. I could see a world in which Umar does win rounds 1 and 2 again, even though I don't think it will happen. I could see a world where that happens. However, in rounds 3, 4, and 5, Jan is going to break him, because Jan is not going to slow down against just pure grappling like that. You really have to mix in stuff constantly to make him slow down. And Umar just doesn't know what to do. And the body strikes are going to add up and make Umar gas even quicker. So I think Umar gets finished probably in round 4 or 5. I could see it being kind of like the Aldo fight where it's like a round 5 finish or something like that. So yeah, I don't think Umar has great chances in that fight by any means. The Oracle Fight IQ glazing curse continues. To be fair, I don't think I ever complimented his fight IQ. I said his team gives some good game plans. I don't know if they decided to change it up or if he just didn't execute on it. Rob said he wanted to have a fun fight in his post-interview, even if it was stupid. Interesting. I didn't listen to his post-fight interview. Yeah, that is stupid. It did make a fun fight, to be fair, but yeah, it was a very stupid decision for him, not gonna lie. Do you think Merab was coping when he said he tried to make the fight against Jan entertaining? I could see it not being cope. I could see him having actually actively decided he was going to trade punches with Jan in the center for some reason, and just being like, oh, this will be fun. I think I can still win. Yeah, it was not a good idea, but yeah. Is this Merab giving Piotr a win so that he could get a trilogy for money? Free trilogy for money. I don't think that was the intention. Do I think Merab would beat Jan in a trilogy? Probably. I think that in a trilogy, Merab would come in with a much more humble game plan, and he would probably fight like he did the first time with a few improvements. And if you do that, he probably can beat Jan still. I don't see why he wouldn't, because I didn't feel like Jan really dramatically changed his game plan. Jan did have slightly better takedown defense fundamentals for sure, but he still backed up to the fence to defend the takedowns, and that's where in the first fight, Merab would have just let go and start striking. And this fight, for some reason, he started grinding like to try to get the takedowns and gas himself out. Merab has been fighting arrogant since he beat Umar. Tough Sean on the feet a lot more. I don't know what you mean by that, but do you mean fought Sean on the feet a lot more and got rocked by Corey? Fair, yeah. He was for sure coping. I mean, I think that's only partial cope. Are you surprised the takedown defense from Jan was so amazing with his high guard? No, because he has great takedown defense. We talked about this in the breakdown on Thursday. Jan's takedown defense was not the problem in the first fight. Why did Merab throw 0 calf kicks? Beats me. I have no idea. He needed to. I know Merab said that he'd been working on his striking. He wanted to show off his striking after the second O'Malley fight. Yeah, I mean, I think he just got arrogant. Didn't you say Merab would win without takedowns? If he managed range properly, yeah, I think he would have had a chance to. But he didn't even try to manage range properly. Jan had insane cardio, to be fair. I mean, it's definitely easier to have insane cardio when the fight is in your domain the entire time. But yes, Jan in general has good cardio. Not trying to say otherwise. Is it possible that Merab has undiagnosed autism? Respectively, he seems like there's a part of his brain that connects differently. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I'm amazed the worst sport to have a favorite athlete. Valid. Were you leaning the rematch? Yeah, as I was saying, Merab. Does this change your opinion on Merab versus Umar rematch? Not really. I think it still favors Merab because I don't think Umar can really do much damage on the feet. And I do think that Umar will still gas out in rounds 3, 4, and 5. And if you can't damage Merab, Merab's definitely not going to gas rounds 3, 4, 5. Merab is getting older and has peaked. I think that's a factor as well. Jan's younger and still improving. That is possible for sure. What a card, bro. So entertaining. The last 2 fights had me rattled, so unexpected. Valid, yes. This was a pretty good card overall. Jan has amazing skills, S-tier boxing, plus best takedown defense in the UFC. Best takedown defense might be a bit of a stretch, but he definitely has good takedown defense. Umar has better grappling than Merab. Still, it's a close and tough fight. I slightly favor Jan. Also, Umar is a very dangerous fighter. Striker with fast and snappy kicks. I think calling Umar a dangerous striker is a little bit of a exaggeration. He had like 1 knockout. Otherwise, he hasn't really done anything on the feet, but I do get what you mean. Might be a silly question, but would current Max beat Volk at 155? I'd lean towards yes, but not confidently. I do think that in general, Volk is a bad style for him, but at the same time, I do think that, again, Max is a little bit younger. I think Volk is past his prime, Max is coming into it, and so on. I felt so bad for him. Fair enough, yeah. Only title fight Merab wasn't rocked in was the Sean rematch. That is true. Do you think Merab could beat John Jones? Oh my god. I think you saw, though, that when Merab let go on the fence, Jan would circle out. I think Jan would win in a trilogy fight. Jan would circle out because Merab didn't start to throw immediately. You can't circle out if someone's putting punches in your face. Like, you can start to try to, but you have to focus on defending first. When do you think Merab comes back? Probably like 4 to 6 months. Merab seems to be acquiring Umar's humbleness mindset. Fair. Rangju about to beat Saokil to make a title shot. I'm so happy. Valid. You don't need to go to the... You do need to go to the butt against Merab. Yes, you do. Did the weight cut also affect Merab? No human should be able to fight 4 times in 1 year. Maybe. 4 weight cuts is definitely tough. So it is a possibility. This is proof Volk would have bullied Merab. That's possible. Rangju and Oralby. Title runs are incoming. Fair. John Volk versus Merab at 145. How? At this point, I would lean both Volk and John, not gonna lie. Max versus Charles, who you got? I would put Max as a slight favorite. Any ideas on how you think Kopp versus Royval will go? I'm favoring Kopp, but not by a massive margin. I feel like Diego beats Volk by TK on the rematch. I mean, probably. That's just realistically what is likely. Would this Tyra beat the Royval he lost to? Yes. Why did Merab scream every time he got tagged to the body? I mean, it hurts. Body shots hurt a lot more than shots to the head. I'm late. Give recap on the main events. I mean, you saw them in the main card. But basically, I was saying, I think that Merab fought a very stupid fight where he kind of abandoned all the game planning that gave him success the first time. And the co-main events, I think that even in the brief period we saw good and bad things out of Van, specifically, I should say. So it's hard to say how the fight would have gone. But I would favor Van in the rematch because older fighters don't come back from injuries the same. Do you think fans are going to turn on Rob now and forget how good he was? Yes, they always do. I mean, you guys, like, luckily are more of the hardcore educated MMA fans, which is good because you guys actually are not insane, which I appreciate. But yeah, the majority of the MMA fan base will just turn their entire mindset on a dime, so that is what it is. Josh Van fought 4 times this year as well. True, but he doesn't cut as much weight. Tyron Van beat everyone, possibly. Recap on the Jan fight, please. So, Rob did not use anything that worked in the first fight, like the calf kicks, the distance management, shooting to disrupt pace rather than to try to grind for the takedown. He just had a very different game plan that made no sense. Jan fought well, he made good adjustments going to the body and such. His takedown defense looked a little bit improved, even though in the first fight, again, it was actually not really his issue. But yeah, I think it was a very poor performance from Rob. Do you think Jalen Turner or Rongju beats Selkiel? Definitely Jalen Turner. Rongju's going to be closer. What do you think Selkiel's biggest weaknesses are? I mean, he has a lot. I mean, his striking defense is not spectacular. His wrestling isn't great. Like, he's very early in his career skill-wise. Dan versus BSD early breakdown. I mean, BSD just takes him down and mauls him. Rongju is beating Selkiel. Let's go. Valid. How did Rob tank clean liver shots over and over? Jan doesn't have the craziest power, even though he has, like, clean striking. Thoughts on Strickland versus Hernandez? I'd lean Strickland TKO. Do you think Murphy deserves the title shot? I personally disagree. I would give Murphy the title shot over Lopez. There's, of course, the argument you can give it to Evloev, but Evloev pulled out against, what's his name, Pico, and then Murphy took care of him, so I do think Murphy getting the title shot is fair. O'Malley versus Song prediction. I think you have to lean O'Malley. Does anyone beat Chimaev, Strickland, Fluffy, Nasruddin? I mean, they all have a chance, but would I pick any of them against him? Probably not. What was your scoring for the main event? Confused how anyone could give Rob any round outside round one. I think I scored it 48-47 for Jan. I did give Rob, I believe, round 2, but I'd have to go back at this point. I'm kind of forgetting what happened in what round. Oracle saying we're not insane, acting like he hasn't seen the betting server. Fair points. Insane in the right ways, at least. Rock, paper, scissors division, yeah. Does Rob win rematch and Talbot / Umar versus Jan? Does Rob win rematch? I'd lean towards yes. Talbot and Umar versus Jan, I'd lean they lose to Jan. That's why we can't have Oracle go mainstream. We need to keep the hardcore circle. Fair, we could just slowly expand the hardcore circle. O'Malley beats Jan, Marab beats O'Malley, and Jan beats Marab. Fair. John Silva versus Arnold Allen. The differences in grappling. I mean, I'd have to do tape study for that. You can't set up leg kicks on the back foot. Jan made the adjustment. He didn't throw leg kicks on the back foot the first time, despite backing up a lot of the time. It wasn't really an adjustment. It was just that Marab did not try to pursue it when he was on the front foot or neutral at all. Marab fought off the back foot a lot more than people remember in the first fight. He just made sure to only pick at Jan and not try to trade with him. Rogan was getting annoyed at DC for saying Marab needs to stop reacting after the body shots. Yeah, to be fair, DC definitely reacted to the body shots against Stipe, so I don't know. Sean versus Fluck prediction, I went over that, yeah. Do you think Strickland has the best chance versus Chimaev? I would say Imavov has the best chance because he could catch him, but probably the second best. Wasn't Ilya supposed to fight Jan at 135? How do you see? I think if Ilya tried to make 135, he would have been so weak that he would have gotten finished. Like, he would have been so drained. Now that you put it like that, I think he does deserve it. Yeah, valid. You think Song might wrestle against O'Malley? He's definitely going to try, yeah. How do I become a UFC champion if I'm currently obese and don't train? First, get in shape, then worry about the rest. Sean will definitely get grappled versus Song. Yeah, he will try. Or Song will try to grapple him, I should say. Who had the worst commentary tonight? Honestly, I started tuning out the commentary. I don't love any of it. Rogan slobbering over every flimsy submission attempt all card was driving me insane. Yeah, that might be right. Right, the whole like Rogan thing during the Silva fight with the Dead Orchard submission or whatever, which is like pretty much impossible to land unless someone has never done BJJ in their life. Yeah, that was annoying. Perma gatekeeping Oracle so he doesn't forget me. Fair. I'm gonna head out. Great stream. Have a good night. Praying we get Sandhagen Jan for the belt, bro. What odds do you give Jan against Corey and Sean? I think that Sean has a much better chance than Corey does. The problem with Corey is he just doesn't have enough power in his hands. What was up with those text message? What text message? Oh, DC's text message he was talking about? I don't know. Why did Jan have so much success defending the takedowns while defending with a high guard compared to JDM? Just better wrestling fundamentals. He knows what he's doing with his hips. How does Alexandre Topuria versus Talbot go, you think? I'd probably pick Alexandre Topuria to win a decision. Will we pay for the 6-month period of no UFC weeks if we have premium role? If people want to cancel for that month, I understand that. So people can. We'll still be betting on other things, so it's really up to you. I saw Joe Rogan at church. Fair. Have a good one, man. And Jan Cell, stand up. Have a good night. Do you do MMA and train? Less than I used to, but yes. Why should you train wrestling and MMA? I still think you should isolate train wrestling, right? You do need to understand the skill set. But in terms of how to train it for MMA, I think you should set up the situation that you're working on specifically and drill that over and over. And that could be a combination sequence that includes strikes. DC, Rogan by fire, fair. You watch fights in silence? I thought I was the only one. I don't literally watch in silence. I kind of just have learned to tune out the commentary. I like hearing the strikes land, so I don't like literally watch it in silence, but I muted after DC said Rob could be up 3-0. Okay, controversial take. I kind of understand why he said that, even though I did not think he won round 3. I do think there was an argument he won rounds 1 and 2. So I'll give him a little bit of slack there. Sometimes it's entertaining to hear stupid commentary. Says, not gonna lie, fair. How does Trockley date Mackenzie Dern and can't defend a standing guillotine? I don't know, man. Hennick said someone texted him that Marab had a broken jaw going into round 5. Oh yeah, I don't know how they would know that, but whatever. Yeah, I got hella NFL and NBA in Oracle chat. We make a ton of bank on other sports, guys. Yeah, exactly. We still do other sports. We have plenty of people who can help with that if you need it. Who beats Jan? I don't think anyone does as of right now. I'd still favor both Merab and O'Malley in rematches. Can Michael Morales TKO Islam in round 1 before Islam gets a hold of him? If he fought kind of like Sean Brady, it's possible. I'm not going to pick it probably, but like, would I be shocked? No. This fight really showed how fight IQ and a good game plan is the most important thing in high-level MMA. Very much agreed. Who do you have in Gaethje versus Patty and Song versus Sean? I have Patty and Sean. Why do you think O'Malley had worse takedown defense and scrambling defense compared to Jan? Just worse fundamentals. Rob took 1 and 2. Fair. Yeah, I thought so as well, but 2 was close. By the way, are you among the camp of people who don't rate Islam's second win over Rokadol, or do you respect it for what it was? I'm partway in between, right? I don't think that you can give him full credit for it, but I don't think you want to say it's nothing. All right. I will probably end the stream here because I should probably start working on a reel for tomorrow about the Yad Merab fight. But I appreciate you guys coming. I hope everyone enjoyed the event. If you are betting on the next event, consider joining the Discord. As you've heard everyone saying, we did amazingly here. We did amazingly in the Discord today. The link is pinned here. So yeah, have a good one, guys. I'll see you guys soon. Have a good night.